Say good morning and thank you so much for joining us for our third annual Houston MBDA Export Academy. I am Jessica Vasquez, the project coordinator of the Houston MBDA Business Center. Our director, Marchette Turner, and our business advisors are attending a conference in Washington, D.C. Houston MBDA wants to assist and help firms to recover from the impact of COVID-19 and find new opportunities overseas. Our Export Academy offers businesses of all sizes and scales the opportunity to attend these free workshops to help you and stay competitive in this ever-changing global market. Today, we have an amazing workshop presenter and seasoned professional in the person of Mr. Farhan Durrani, who serves as a VP Business Development Officer with Wallis Bank. He will speak to us about the importance of the International Business Development Plan. But before that, we have Mr. Nas Khan, who serves as an EVP Chief Lending Officer with Wallis Bank, who's going to do like a briefly introduction. Okay, Mr. Khan?
Yes, good morning, Jessica. Thank you so much for getting Wallis Bank involved for this great event is happening place for this whole week and being a part of the export Academy. Just to give you a little bit of a background of Wallis Bank, we are over 100-year-old bank, and we also specialize in SBA lending. That's SBA, Small Business Administration lending, which we do. And also the bank is involved in export and import financing, as well as handling of import and export documents, letter of credit, and documentary collections. We have a specialized department handling it. In fact, I told Jessica, I am on my way to San Antonio. We have a new branch opening in San Antonio, so I'll be pretty short. And just to give you an advantage, SBA has promoted this program so much. There is an Exim Bank, there is a export working capital line of credit, which you can use up to $5 million. And also you have an advantage if you want to build a location, you want to buy the inventory for export, the SBA is going to help you do that. If the exports, if the SBA limits are over, like that's up to $5 million, then we also participate in Exim Bank program. Exim Bank program technically does not have any limit per se, but they are looking for opportunities for good export deals. For the people who are the participants doing that, I'll just tell you, it's one of the know-how which is very much important, that you have to partner up with certain organizations who are involved earlier on with export financing. It may sound very easy, but the thing is, first of all, you have to see the country risk where you are exporting. You have to identify where, what products you can export out of United States. So the opportunities are great. And the advantage which people have over here with Small Business Development Center, organizations like MBDA, you can learn a lot. They are free services which can help you prepare the loan packages, which can also help you prepare how to deal with the banks. So I'm just telling you, the advantages are great. The resources are enormous. We have SCORE chapter, which also have people who specialize in export financing. So try to take that advantage from these organizations who are available. WBE is there, Women Business Enterprise. That's also one of the organizations. If I may be forgetting some other organizations who are involved in it, and obviously SBA, Sonia, who also handles export program in the district office here in Houston. Apart from that, if there is, Jessica, if you want me to be very specific to answer any question, I'm available. Otherwise, I'm going to hand over to Farhan Durrani, who is pretty much capable, and he'll go with the slideshow. But I appreciate so much that you have given us an opportunity for Wallis Bank and myself to join this important event. And thank you so much, Jessica.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. I know. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there anything specific you want me to talk to, or you want me to go ahead and hand it over to Farhan?
You can just hand it to Farhan Durrani.
Okay, Farhan, you take it over from here. Okay, I'm going to leave. Sika, thank you so much and good luck. And everyone.
I just wanted to know, we're going to receive a copy of the recording.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vai. Thank you, Mr. Vai. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Marchette, for having us again. My name is Farhan Durrani. I'm VP Business Development Officer for Wallace Bank for the last 8 years. And I would like to start. Jessica, are you going to get going with the presentation on the PowerPoint?
Yes.
You'll have the slide going?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. So SBA has 3 core international trade finance programs that support small businesses and exporters and export transactions. There's Export Express Loan Program, Export Working Capital Program. I believe Nasser just touched on both of them a little bit. But today we'll focus on the International Trade Loan Program. Under the International Trade Loan Program, SBA guarantees term loans to improve the competitive position of small business concerns that are existing exporters or developing new export markets. SBA also guarantees term loans to improve the competitive position of any small business concerns adversely affected by import competition. An export transaction typically is the production and payment associated with the sale of goods or services to a foreign buyer. Eligibility under the International Trade Loan Program for the SBA is, in addition to the core requirements identified of their SOP, the applicant must demonstrate either B and D or C and D in the subsequent bullet points in order to be eligible. So the loan proceeds will expand existing export markets or develop new export markets. To establish this, the applicant must submit an export business plan, including both the projection and narrative rationale that contains enough information to reasonably support the likelihood of expanded export sales. The plan should identify the amount of export sales, indirect exports. Indirect exports are considered exports for purposes of determining eligibility. The term indirect export applies to situations where, although the applicant's direct customer is located in the U.S., that customers will be exporting the items, services it's purchased from the applicant to a foreign buyer. In such cases, the applicant must provide documentation to the lender from the applicant's domestic customer, typically in the form of a letter, invoice, order, or a contract, that the goods or services are in fact being exported. For all the applicants' exports, including indirect exports, the lender must determine if U.S. companies are authorized to conduct businesses with the country to which the goods or services will be shipped pursuant to the Exim Bank Country Limitation Schedule. I believe Nasser touched on it a little bit before too with the Exim Banks. A loan may not be made to a business that directly or indirectly exports to a foreign country which is listed as a prohibited country on the country limitation schedule, or the applicant is adversely affected by import competition. Applicant must demonstrate injury attributable to increased competition with foreign firms in the relevant market. A narrative explanation and financial statement showing that imported products or services which are directly competitive with those produced by the applicant have contributed significantly to a decline in competitive position are required. Alternatively, the applicant can submit a finding of injury by the International Trade Commission or the Secretary of Commerce pursuant to Chapter 3 of Title II or the Trade Act of 1974, and that the applicant is adversely affected by import competition. In addition to those bullet points listed above, the applicant must demonstrate that the loan will allow the applicant to improve its competitive position. The lender must include evidence in our credit memorandums and to our loan committees to support the fact that the loan will allow the applicant to improve its competitive position. For purposes of clarification, small businesses in the following NICS industry subsector codes cannot be financed using an international trade loan, but may be financed using other SBA 7 financial assistance. And those typically not eligible are gasoline stations and accommodations. Eligible use of proceeds for international trade loans. Proceeds of an international trade loan may only be used for the following eligible purposes: acquire, construct, renovate, modernize, improve, or expand facilities and equipment to be used in the United States to produce goods or services involved in international trade and to develop and penetrate foreign markets. Number 2, working capital, overhead, marketing, payroll. Number 3, debt refinancing with international trade loans. International trade loans proceeds may be used for refinancing of any debt that is not structured with reasonable terms and conditions, including any debt that qualifies for refinancing under the regular SBA 7A loan program. International trade loans may not be used to pay a creditor, including the same institution's debt, in a position to sustain a loss. That includes shifting all or parts of a potential loss from the original lender to the SBA 7A. Essentially, a balloon payment, anything with unreasonable terms, a really high interest rate, anything that comes up after 5 years and there's a big balloon, go ahead and is eligible for refinancing. SBA guaranteed loan proceeds may not be used to refinance the following debt. Originally used to finance a loan purpose that would have been ineligible for SBA financing at the time it was originally made, unless the condition that would have made the loan ineligible no longer exists, or again, as we just touched on, that is already on reasonable terms. So if there was a 10-year term with no balloon, interest rate was reasonable, those are considered to be reasonable terms. So they would not qualify under international trade loan refinances. Debt reflected on the applicant's business balance sheet may be eligible if it is reflected on the applicant's business tax returns, Schedule C or sole proprietor, showing the interest rate associated with the debt. We must document and the applicant must certify that the proceeds from the debt were used exclusively for the applicant's business and were not used for any ineligible purposes as set forth in the SOP. If the debt to be refinanced was used in whole or in part to refinance a prior debt, the loan being refinanced, including the associated interest, must be reflected on the applicant's balance sheet and business tax returns for 2 full tax cycles prior to application. Loan proceeds may be used to refinance the following type of business debt. Any debt structure with demand note or balloon payment scheduled, as we discussed. Debt with an interest rate that exceeds the SBA maximum interest rate based on size of term loan. Business credit card debt. Loan proceeds must not be used to refinance any personal expenses. The bank may refinance credit card debt if the credit card is in the name of the business and the applicant certifies in writing that any credit card debt being refinanced was incurred exclusively for the business-related purposes. If the business credit card was also used for personal purposes, the lender must ensure that those charges are deducted from the credit card balance proposed to be refinanced. Debt that is over collateralized. Collateralized, which the SBA describes to determine if the loan is fully secured. Revolving lines of credit, short-term or long-term, where the original lender is unwilling to renew the line or the applicant is restructuring its financing in order to obtain a lower interest rate or a longer term. And then debt with maturity that was not appropriate for the purpose of the financing. Typically, for example, 3-year term to finance a piece of equipment with the useful life of 15 years. Debt used to finance a change of ownership of a going concern of a business. So a complete change of ownership or an eligible partner buyout. If the change of ownership is between existing owners of a business and existing business debt will be refinanced as part of the transaction, the refinancing must meet the requirements set forth in this part. If the existing debt is SBA guaranteed with the same lender, the applicant cannot be processed under the delegated authority. Paying off debt as a part of a change of ownership is not refinance of debt. In a complete change of ownership situation, the option to assume the existing SBA debt should be offered to the buyer. Debt that is not identified above, but the lender believes no longer meets the need of the applicant. For example, current loan is a term loan and a revolver is needed, must be processed through non-delegated procedures and the lender. And we must cite as a lender and as an applicant in our write-ups into our loan committees the specific reasons why the existing debt no longer meets the needs of the applicant and may not cite improving the lien position as a sole reason for refinancing. And it goes a little bit into more personal debt. Let me tell you about a little bit of the terms of the international trade program, which I'll have for you too. So max loan amount is $5 million for this SBA international trade program. The SBA maximum SBA guarantee covers it about 90%. Interest rate wise, lenders and borrowers can negotiate the interest rate, but it may not exceed the SBA maximum. And the eligibility decision is typically made by the SBA. Term-wise, loan maturity and term-wise, 10 years for permanent working capital, up to 10 years for machinery and equipment, or the useful life of the equipment.
We can't hear you. Can you? Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So the loan maturities, as I was saying, it was 10 years for permanent working capital, up to 10 years for machinery and equipment, or the useful life of equipment, not to exceed 15 years, and up to 25 years for real estate. Typically turnaround times is for decision making is typically 5 to 10 business days from the SBA. But that's what they would like, but typically it could run a little, maybe 10 to 20 days, 10 to 20 business days where to go. And the credit decision is made by the SBA and the delegated lender. Any questions so far?
Oh, let me see.
Any questions? No.
No, not right now. You can just continue. I think. Did you finish?
No, I was just,
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could keep going. I have a ton of material I can tap on, but I can open it up for questions.
Yes, sir. Let me see.
Jessica, give me 1 second. The audio is not, I can barely hear you guys. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Please.
And also, if there's any way that you can fix your camera because we'll see you like sideways. Oh. Okay, that is better. Yes.
Oh, I can hear you guys so much better. Okay, great.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay, we have a question. Davi, what is the biggest or most common misperception about international business development?
First, what I can think of off of my head is that the product quality will suffer if you want to go international, but I think that's a no. In my eyes, in order to become more competitive, even emerging markets need to institute comparable quality standards. Price alone tends to move few markets, especially over the long term. Competing on a world stage also appears to raise standards relating to non-commerce issues. So I would think, people want to keep it domestically, and then they think that moving, exporting and expanding into internationally, that the products will suffer. But I think it's the contrary to that.
I see. Yes. I have another one. It says like, what are the future trends of international business development?
Sure. I had actually another one for another misperception. Jessica, real quick before the future trends, another misconception about international trade development is, I think domestically, a lot of us think that, we lose jobs when these trade barriers are lower. But in my opinion, and the way the market's going, I think despite the widespread notion, the link between employment and trade is tenuous at best. In fact, technology has to do far more with the loss of manufacturing jobs in developed markets than overseas competition. So I think that's another misconception as well too. What was the second question, Jessica? I'm sorry.
It was, what are the future trends of international business development?
Trends have changed a little bit, obviously, due to the pandemic in the last few years. But what I've been seeing is growing emerging markets. Developed countries will see the highest economic growth as they do come closer to standards of living of the developed world. If you want your business to go rapidly, consider selling into one of these emerging markets. Language, financial stability, economic system, and local cultural factors can influence which markets you should favor. Population and demographic shifts. Population of the industrialized world is aging, while many of the developing countries still have very youthful populations. Businesses catering to well-off pensioners can profit from a focus on developed countries, while those targeting in Latin America, Africa, and the Far East. Another trend would be the speed of innovation. The pace of innovation is increasing as many new companies develop new products and improved versions of traditional items. Western companies can no longer export, or can no longer technical development of this trend, which will intensify as more businesses in developing countries acquire the expertise to innovate successfully. Another trend would be information, just the information out there. There's so many more informed buyers. More intense and more rapid communication allow customers everywhere to purchase products made anywhere around the globe and to access info about what to buy. I mean, nowadays with all the information that's just available to us, there's just so many more informed buyers out there. As pricing and quality information becomes available across the market, businesses will lose pricing power, especially the power to set different prices in different markets. And then you've seen a lot more too, is a lot more domestically in the US have expanded into the international trade market. So in that turn, that offers increased business competition as well too. As more businesses enter international markets, Western companies will see increased competition because companies based in developing markets often have lower labor costs. The challenge for Western firms is to keep ahead with faster, more effective innovation, as well as high degree of automation.
I see. Yes, sir. And then I have another one. It says, where should individuals, businesses, organizations start with international business development?
Where should So where should individual business organizations, so let's say they're starting off their business, and you're saying where should be like a key starting point?
Yes. Where they can get like more information about it, like where to start if like someone doesn't know anything about it. So where they can start.
I mean, attending seminars like this that Jessica's hosting is a great start. I mean, this type of informations and seminars, you know, have been widely available for a long time, and you know, there are more and more that are out there. So I mean, showing up, attending international trade seminars wherever you can find them. Start by looking at, you know, these, you know, Jessica and Marchette putting out these type of events, local universities, business development organization, great reading materials that offer a wide variety and range of information. Network, reach out to existing exporters, support personnel such as like consultants, logistical staffs, shipping, receiving companies, and use government employees who support the export industry. Ask about their processes, ask about their timelines, ask about their failures or roadblocks, seek out a mentor. Reading, you know, all these, the first two, you know, everybody offers a ton of reading. And, you know, as I touched on before, you know, with trends and everything, there's so much information that is available. Try the export.gov website. Such up-to-date information and guidance. Start with their basic guide to exporting, to break down the information, targeting markets, logistics, channel distribution, finding buyers, and just, you know, the basic glossary of terms. And then, you know, getting into this international trade, you know, identify how you're going to sell internationally. You know, there are many different ways to sell in.
Yes, I see. And then if there was only one thing you hope the people in the audience today do as a result of our conversation, what would it be?
As basic as it is continue reading, continue to do your own research, you know, see how these programs can help benefit you. There's you know, I touched up on, you know, the SBA's assistance of it. You know, starting off, sometimes, you know, you will need the government assistance, and the SBA program does offer, you know, 3 very good programs, you know, to not jump right in, but to get your foot off to the right foot, into the international trade, you know, business. So I would follow up, I would do continuous readings, and I would use, you know, the SBA programs as a good starting point to start off. You know, the international trade loan program, the SBA that I offered, you know, with up to 5 million, they have an express export program as well too, that I touched on briefly about it. You know, it's quicker turnarounds. It's just for the working capital and 500,000 maximum lines of credit. So, you know, there's multiple programs. Continue to follow up, continue to attend seminars and webinars, and you know, seek out more information. Export.gov is a great tool. Great tool to start off.
I see. Thank
Any
you.
other? No problem.
And then also, is international business development a key component in exporting?
Yeah, it's because typically a lot you will see is a lot of the exporting, you know, importing, depending on, you know, where you're finding the manufacturers, and using the letter credits or Exim banks, using SBA assistant. Yes, typically from what I've seen, in my opinion, I do believe export and import is a key component in international trade.
Yes, and also I have a question saying, like, are there any programs exclusive to veterans?
Exclusive to veterans? For international trade, you know, so SBA under their 7A program does have a little bit of some benefits for veterans. I would ask a little bit more from, you know, SBA representatives to see if those do still factor in to international trade and export importing. I would say yes, but I would have to double check and get back to you of how that would apply to international trade. I would think yes, it does have some veteran advantages, typically a lower or no guarantee fee, and some breaks on rates as well too. But I would assume that would still apply if wanting to do the SBA international trade program or export working capital as well too. There should be as well too. I can get further information for whoever asked that question as well.
I see. Well, thank you so much. I don't see any more questions, so I think we're going to wrap up, but I just wanted to tell our audience that please don't forget to register for our next event. It's going to be foreign market entry strategies. That is going to be on September the 27th. So thank you so much, Mr. Durrani. Thank you for just being here and taking the time to explain. It was very informative. Well,
No,
thank you so much.
thank you again, Ms. Jessica, for having me, and Nasser. And my contact information is on the PowerPoint presentation. So if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you again for having me, and Nasser.